I'm Jammer, and welcome back to another Animal Crossing New Horizons video. Over the past couple of days, Nintendo has released a couple of new promo trailers showing off some new footage of Animal Crossing New Horizons. So it's not necessary to show off any new information, but it does show a lot of new clips we've never seen and tons of different and unique scenarios that you can have in the game. There's a good amount to go over, so I think the best way to organize it is just go trailer by trailer and break down the key details of each scene, and if any relate between the two, we'll hop between them. But before we get started, yes, it's that time again. Mr. YouTube's time to shine. If you are new here, perhaps consider subscribing. It's free, you can always change your mind later, and you can expect tons of more Animal Crossing New Horizons content coming down the line, especially leading up to, and of course, on release. I'm sure you will not be disappointed. So thanks for listening to that. With that out of the way, let's get started. The first trailer shows off some multiplayer of us two sisters playing Animal Crossing together on the Switch. And matter of fact, they're playing the Special Edition Switch, which is coming out in a little under a week. Wow, this thing just looks so amazing. I mean, even look at the little sleeves that go on the Joy-Con with the white bevel. Wow, it just like is so aesthetically pleasing. We see inside of the player's house and we see a handful of new stuff. First of all, the most adorable little dog plush in the corner. Like, I can't. In the scene, we see one of the players pushing the piano across the room. And as it turns out, this is one of the customization options of this piano, because in a later trailer, which we'll talk about in a bit, but it's quick to mention here that we also see the same piano, just with the customization variants. Another thing to mention in her house is you'll notice underneath the bed and where the player is standing is a yellow and white striped rug. Now, rugs aren't entirely new to the series, as you could place them in Pocket Camp, and they were also available in Happy Home Design. If I'm not mistaken though, as far as in a mainline title, rugs are technically new. But regardless, it's cool to see rugs in this game, because it can add so much variety to your flooring instead of one standard pattern across the whole room. We'll see a couple of examples of this throughout the trailers we'll be looking at today. In the next scene, the players go outside of their village, and there's a couple of things to break down here. First off, if you take a look at the bottom right corner of the map, you can actually see a gray line near where the player is. And actually what it looks like it's representing is the path that's put on the ground. And I think we've seen examples of this in the past, so the map is a little more dynamic there and can help you better navigate your town, especially when you condense it so much and the paths are necessary to traverse your island. It'll really help having those guidelines on a map. The other thing to point out is when the player opens their inventory, they have a stack of 10 cupcakes. Oh my gosh, that's so adorable. It would only make sense that this is yet another item that can be consumed that can probably give benefits to your stamina so you can break rocks and dig up trees. Although we really no idea how you get the cupcake. You could purchase them. Perhaps there's some sort of event where you can collect cupcakes. To go really out there, what if there's actually a cooking or baking mechanic in the game where you can create more foods? I don't think it'll be that elaborate, but it will be so cute to see your player munching on a little cupcake. So a little bit later in the trailer, we see the players exploring the village. One thing to point out is we see a white signpost. And if you remember, this is a signpost we've seen a bunch from the PAX East footage, and so it's cool to see that there's a customization option to make it white. And speaking of customization options, you see a giant teddy in the background. And this again is a customization of the giant panda we saw again from the PAX East footage. In the final shot of the trailer, it shows the sisters gearing up to take a photo together. The mention is on the left, you can see a red lighthouse. And we've seen before a different colored lighthouse. So again, this is just a customization variant of the lighthouse. In the upper area behind the two players is a fountain, which returns from previous games. The new thing to point out is the fruit furniture, meaning the fruit set that we've all known and loved throughout the Animal Crossing series will be returning here. And if I'm not mistaken, there actually has been some footage showing off actually crafting said furniture, and you will in fact actually be using pears, apples, and other fruit to actually craft the furniture, which I think is such a funny touch. A few things worth mentioning about this camera mode since we're getting a good look at it here. The left buttons can be used to toggle the filter, the D-pad can be used to pan the camera around, X and Y buttons, of course, zoom in. ZR probably toggles what emote you're playing, but then the R button's just eyes. And I think what this button is representative of is what we've seen in a few trailers before when the camera mode's active. You can do a whistle or a hey you and get everyone's attention. And I think that's the button right there. You can get everyone's attention and have all the players start looking at the camera. So then rather than looking straight ahead, maybe if you move your camera to the side a bit, you can have them all look over to the left or the right. So that's about everything for that first trailer. Let's move on to the next one. The opening scene just is an eagle's eye view from the village. I'm still obsessed with the layers of elevation you can work with in this game. It's just gonna be so much fun. We then see the player at their campsite starting things off, getting some furniture ready. And one thing to notice is there's a rock off to the right here. It's not typical to the rocks you would normally see in Animal Crossing, and that's because this is actually a rock stool. And you can see in the next shot that the player actually places a ukulele on it, again confirming that certain seats in the game can be also used to display smaller pieces of furniture that typically can go on top of tables. We then get a view of the player watching the night sky, and we again hear the sound effect for the shooting star. And as many of you pointed out in the last video where we talked about when we saw a shooting star, it probably means that Wishy the star, the character from Wild World that would write you a letter the next day after wishing a star, granting quote-unquote wishes by giving you a little special and random gift. The trailer then goes to a sizzle reel of a couple of shots that are really condensed with a ton of different items and furniture. The first one in spring during the cherry blossoms, which look absolutely amazing in this game, by the way. One thing to point out in the background is you can actually see the return of the Tanuki statue. You can see him poking his head out from the back over there. But there is one thing that's not as obvious about this screenshot, specifically talking about the symmetry. First, you can see the row of class seats. They're each on their own tile, meaning there's one tile's worth of space in the middle that the player could walk through. But if you look ahead and you see the teacher's desk, the plant on it, the chalkboard behind it, it seems to be centered with that middle tile. As we've known with these items in the past, the chalkboard, that desk, takes up 2 spaces. So then how is it in the middle odd number of tiles being 3? So it looks like the feature from Happy Home Designer will be returning where you can actually move items on half grid spaces. That's not too much surprise because we've already seen examples of items taking up half spaces rather than a full space. In the next shot, we see a beach scene, and it is absolutely just cluttered with stuff. And I seriously love it. Look at the amount of depth in this screen alone. We've got lawn chairs, a little sandcastle, a cute little elephant watering can. In the back, there's a set of blow-up loungers, which I really hope you'll be able to lay on top of, just like you can these lounge chairs. Keep going back, there's a set of surfboards and even a pool. I'm doubtful that you'll be able to actually get in the pool. And next to that is actually a set of inflatable coconut trees. If the real coconut trees weren't enough, there's a little set of fake ones too. But if you look out to the right here a little bit, there's a little archway, a little water spigot, but more importantly, a giant peach? I seriously don't get it. It's this pedestal with just a giant peach on it. I have no idea what that's even supposed to be about. It's a really odd furniture item, and I do wonder how you even get it. Do you craft it? Can you get different pedestals based on different fruit? Like if your town fruit is an apple or a cherry, can you get a massive apple podium? It's such a weird furniture item. In the next shot, we see an entirely decked out workout area. We see a set of bench presses, cycles, treadmills, which I do wonder if you'll actually be able to go on the treadmills this time around, because you've always been able to go on the deadlift bench, but you'd be, sleeping. Scattered throughout, there's like 3 different variants of the protein case and a protein shaker. You got the blue one, the red one, and way in the back there's like a brown variant. So all different customization options of that item. To the left of the player, you actually notice that a timer is on the ground, which you'll notice is quite familiar. It's been a tool in a lot of previous Animal Crossing games that would let you set a stopwatch and would keep count of like fish and bugs you collected within that time frame. But it's cool to see that tool is returning here in New Horizons as well. The player himself is interacting with a yoga ball, and it's cool that you can actually make it bounce up and down. But more specifically about the villager himself, look more closely at his clothing. You'll see he's wearing this red sporty tank top, and underneath it you can see pecs and abs bursting through it. But the stranger part is the fact that he's definitely wearing sleeves. This isn't a tank top. You can clearly see the seam at the cuffs and how it goes, straight down to his wrist rather than it being the tank top, which we've already seen that there are tank top items in the game. So he's basically wearing a skin-colored long sleeve, which is really odd. The first conclusion to come to is that this is a custom design. Having the shadows of the abs and the pecs coming through the tank top is definitely a design that was customly made. And then the sleeves themselves were colored to be skin color, I guess? But if I'm not mistaken, can't you make custom designs that are just tank tops? Why specifically was the pro design that the player created still have these skin color sleeves? And maybe there's a layer of detail to define the muscle tones on his arms, or maybe there's like a tattoo on his tricep or something. But I guess a cool thing to build off of that, from this, we'll probably be able to make pretty accurate skin tone colored designs. So then if you wanted to make like a shirtless top, or perhaps you wanted to make like a cutoff, or perhaps you wanted to make like a short cutoff or a belly shirt, you can actually use a color in your design that closely matches the skin color of your player, so then it actually looks more natural. The final shot of this trailer shows a ninja in an icy forest, but more than just that, specifically a bamboo forest. Our first look at snow on the bamboo reeds. Beyond that, there's a ton of different furniture in this shot that looks to all be able to be crafted from bamboo. Little candles, lamps, trays to eat out of, and other stuff like that. In addition to the ninja suit he's wearing is returning from previous games, but what's cool is with the customization of clothing this time around, you can be a red ninja rather than the typical black/purple color that was in previous games. So let's move on to the third and final trailer. We see a player here making their way to the Able Sisters. And with that, we see a really great look at the dressing room. There's a ton of different options for sweaters, robes, hats, even a superhero costume. Matter of fact, in a screenshot of someone playing the game, they actually found a paper bag accessory that you can put over your face, which is so silly. We get a better look at the second row of colors that are options for your player character's hair, which we did see in a previous screenshot, but as many of you pointed out before, there's still no pure white hair. There's a silver color on the previous row, but there is no pure white anymore, which is such a strange omission. Another thing to point out is that in the upper left-hand corner, if you click the X button, it looks like you'll be able to toggle the accessories your player is wearing. So if you initially interact with the mirror, and you got a crazy hat and funky glasses on, you know, sometimes it's going to be kind of hard to see the changes you'll actually be making to your character. But on the flip side of things, after you customize your character's look, you can then preview to what it would look like wearing the accessories you were wearing when you first went into the character customization selection. So it's a cool way to see your changes and preview them in action before you confirm that that's what you want. We also get a better look at the pattern creator, a full screen look at the tools available to the player when working with patterns. There's a couple of things to break down here. Your palette toolbar up at the top, and if you look at the far right, there's like a striped out paint color. And what I think that's a representation of is actually where you can paint back in transparency. So if you fill in a pattern with a pure color, it looks like you'll be able to paint them back in using the transparency color. We also get a better look at some of the tools offered to the player when making these designs. We see, of course, the pencil tool and the variety of sizes. Next to that is a line tool, which can probably help the player make straight lines. Maybe you select a point and you click the next one, and using math, it'll make a line between the 2 points. The 2 tools below are a square and circle maker, so rather than having to eyeball to make a circle, it looks like you'll be able to auto-generate circles into your patterns, which is like a really convenient feature. The following row has the paint bucket tool, and the next 3 are solid icons of a circle, a star, and a heart, which probably are basically like stamp. It'll create a filled-in circle or a filled-in star or heart. The thing to note though is that the square and the circle have the little triangle options next to them, meaning that they're probably scalable, while the stamps of the star and the heart and the filled-in circle don't have those triangle options. So they might be just one standardized size and not scalable, which is kind of a bummer. So those are the tools you can actually use on your artboard itself, but there's a few more icons on display here. The moving arrows probably help with navigation, especially when you're zoomed in onto a pattern, for example. One is an easel icon, and maybe that means you can toggle out the easel on the left-hand side for a different preview of the design. So perhaps if you're making a pro design and you're making a dress or a shirt, you can preview it on that rather than looking at it on the easel. The rest of this trailer showcases a ton of different furniture and house designs, and there is so much new stuff. There is a handful of returning and familiar furniture we've seen throughout the series, but really a lot of this stuff is entirely new to this game. It does make me think about and wonder if like the traditional sets will return, like the ranch set, the cabin set, the blue set. And we've already seen in the previous trailer earlier in this video that the fruit furniture will be returning, but I do really like the focus not as much on like full-blown sets, and especially because so much furniture can be customized, it makes it so more stuff works together better. While in previous games, it really felt like once you're in the ranch set or whatever set, the only other furniture that would match and go well with each other was stuff within the same set. And so that's what's really great about this customization, and a lot of the furniture looking a lot more neutral this time around. It gives the player a lot more flexibility for customization and mixing and matching a lot of different furniture items from different sets. In the shot we see here of the player readjusting the position of this cart, you can actually see the wheels of the cart itself turning while pushing it. It's just a cute little detail worth mentioning. Also, another thing to note in the background is you can see the stuff placed on the wall is layered. In previous titles, the walls were tiled and each tile could only have one piece of furniture. But you can see clearly here, on the same y-axis of an area on the wall, there are 2 pieces of furniture. The shelf, the rug, beyond that the little telephone and the shelving unit above it. And we've already seen that you can totally customize where things go on the wall, and so it's so cool to see that the walls are like a blank canvas, and you can totally clutter and fill the walls with so much little details. Also in this room, we see a new variation of the crafting bench down in the left-hand corner, and also a staircase confirming basements. No surprise that basements slash upstairs wouldn't be returning, but we've not seen any evidence of it yet so far, so it's cool to see staircase in the house. Basements are coming back. Also, the cutest thing ever, there's a fishbowl on the fireplace over there. I'm literally melting. It's so adorable. Now in this room, the player has totally customized their room to be an underwater themed paradise. And the biggest detail to take away from this is not only the animated wallpapers, but also the animated floors. As you can see in this clip, the fish are moving and swimming by. But in addition to that, as the player walks through the room, little water ripples and splashes come off the feet as the player walks through. It is such a unique little detail. It is so cool to have dynamic wallpapers and flooring this time around. I cannot wait to see all the different options we're gonna have in this game. Here in this basement, you can see an example again of rugs. On the right hand side here, there's that gray carpet area where the bed is, as well as the little tiny rug right under the red bench here. Manning the bar in the background, we see, of course, our boy, the skeleton, returning. We also see the train set right in the middle of the room, but an interesting thing is up in the upper left-hand corner, we see, of course, the mounted fish, but then next to it, we see a mounted, bug? Oh no, it's like a giant, like, grasshopper head. Oh wait, that's really weird. Oh, I don't like that. Nope, we're moving on. And then in this last room, we see a ton of new stuff. Scraps of drawings and scribbles on the floor, a little clay set with a dinosaur on the desk, a flower pinwheel fan that's moving, and most importantly of all, a duck. There's so many cute little details in all these rooms, and it's so cool to see the amount of depth you can put into designing your rooms and really making it feel like your own personal space. So before we end off, there's two quick things worth mentioning. First off, someone has finally found the facial hair option we've been questioning about this whole time. And it looks like this time around, facial hair will in fact be an accessory. However, it looks like facial hair can be layered with other accessories like glasses, for example. We have the confirmation here that you can get the facial hair accessories from the Able sisters, and then you can continue to wear accessories on top of that. So then it's not just, you know, if you want to wear a beard, that's all you can wear on your face. What's also cool is that the accessory itself actually matches the hair color of the player. As you can see, the icon here is like a dark brown beard, but when it's previewed on the player, it turns to red to match the hair color of the player. Also, another player was experimenting with the stamina of flowers. Because one of the things you gotta be the most careful about is when running through your flower patches, you know that your rare hybrids or something is gonna get ripped up if you run too quickly through it. So you always had to be super cautious about it. Well, that's not gonna be the case in this game because these players went absolutely crazy running all over these roses here. And after running back and forth all over the place, instead of the flower itself breaking, all that happens is the buds get ripped off. And as we already know, the flower buds can be not only harvested and collected to use in crafting, but will regrow probably within a day's span. So you'll never have to worry about your hybrid flowers getting torn up, or someone visiting your town and running through your flower patch and totally ruining everything there. And that is about everything I could find in these new trailers for Animal Crossing New Horizons. Definitely let me know in the comments if there's anything you spotted. There's a handful of videos of some direct capture of the Animal Crossing PAX East demo that did show off a couple of new things that we'll be going over quite soon here. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a big awesome like, and if you haven't already, definitely subscribe for tons more on Animal Crossing New Horizons. Thanks again guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya!